let's go back to the receptors in the spine. We know they are essential for our brain to interpret us in space and essential for our brain to basically do the appropriate necessary mechanism in order to bring about regeneration.
Yes.
So the degeneration would be basically the opposite of regeneration.
Sure. Yeah. So you can look at movement on a spectrum. You can look at it from, no movement at all, and the neurological consequences of that. And we could look at good, proper movement and alignment, and how that affects these receptors that you're talking about, and the ultimate effect on the nervous system from that. We can use an analogy to better understand the receptors, and it actually comes back to your comment about energy. If you look at a windmill as an example, so a windmill generates electricity, but we know that there's a spectrum as to how much electricity it can generate. So the first consideration is its position. So depending on where you place the windmill, you will have more or less of an effect on generating electricity. If you put a windmill between two buildings, that's not a very good place to put a windmill. Whereas if you put it out in the field, its positioning will allow greater chance of stimulating electricity. In the same way that we look at mechanoreceptors of the spine, for example, if I have a head forward posture, I know that there are receptors. If you think of the three dimensions of a spine or of two vertebrae, I know that if they're aligned the way that they're designed to be aligned, I will have the maximum amount of mechanoreceptor stimulation from gravity, just plain from gravity, pushing down on these receptors. Whereas if I have a misalignment, or let's say a poor posture of some sort, I now have a whole area of receptors that are no longer being stimulated from gravity. So position is number one. The second thing obviously is movement. So the windmill needs to move in order for it to generate electricity, in the same way that our joints need to move to stretch muscles and other tissues in order to generate stimulation in those mechanoreceptors as well. Where it gets interesting for the energy aspect is that all of these receptors together feed into the brain. The brain processes this and helps us maintain energy, or it acts as a generator, really. It's an interesting phenomenon when you think of, okay, what is energy and how does it relate to the body? You look at somebody who exercises, who's a top athlete, and they're always out there, exercising, and you think to yourself, my God, they're expending so much energy. They must be really tired. They must be constantly fatigued. But it's the exact opposite. These are the people that you look at them and they're bright-eyed and they're with it, right? And you look at the other side of the coin, you look at somebody who doesn't exercise at all, who's a couch potato, and you think to yourself, well, from energy mechanisms, if you look at the physics of that, you would think they're doing a great job at conserving their energy. They must be, they must have tons of energy. But it's the exact opposite. These are the people who are always fatigued and tired and depressed, right?
That is key for this whole notion of, sorry to cut you, but this is huge. This is to explain why sitting and being dormant and basically not doing activities, it just has a snowball effect on how you feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the beauty of exercise, as being, perhaps the most important factor to stimulate the brain, to keep your brain healthy. I mean, there's no amount of Sudoku puzzles that you can do that's going to be better than exercising, right? And chiropractic as being an art form that improves movement, and not only improves movement, but brings movement where there was lack of movement before, has a tremendous impact on the nervous system. Just by considering the mechanoreceptor aspects of a joint adjustment.